Lima, brought to you by Good Food Restaurants, home of Happy Days, Beer Barrel, and Old City Pride. Also by Fresh and Faded, Jones Clark Funeral Home, and Lima Pallet Company.
In 1952, President Eisenhower signed an executive order that banned homosexuals from working for the government, claiming security risks. Needless to say, we've come a long way since then. 2012, President Obama became the first president to support LGBT couples to marry. In 2015, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of same-sex marriages in Ohio. With these milestone dates, many people are still feeling progress needs to be made in small communities like Lima. Today, in support of June, as Gay Pride Month, Hello Lima will be taking on another challenging topic. We'll be discussing the topic of gay rights, how Lima is supporting or not supporting these rights, and hearing directly from those working and living in the gay community. Thank you, Lima. I appreciate you joining me today. I have with me, and I'm really excited about today's guest, we have Dr. Marian Harbour. I certainly am familiar with her. We've got to know each other over the last several months. And having said that, as a local doctor, scientist, businesswoman, entrepreneur, advocate, transgender, she's come to be a friend of mine and one that life is enriched because of. I have with me also Kim Butler, social worker, advocate for gay rights movements as well as bisexual. Let me start with you, Marian. Doctor, I'd like to say something quickly, and this is the way it says: sexuality and gender identity are not choices, any more than being left-handed or having brown eyes or being heterosexual are choices. They're part of who you are. You and I have talked off-screen a number of times about transgender, the LGBT community, and where it's going, particularly as it affects Lima. And I want to make sure Lima understands we are not going to try to change anybody's minds today. That is almost, we only have a half-hour show. We do not have enough time. What we want to do is kind of educate you, kind of make people think. Follow me, Doc? Trying to make people feel like, hey, if I didn't know this before the show, I know it now, and it may give me a different perspective. If we talk about it, and certainly being Black America, I understand about how the movements have changed over the years, and I can go back to the civil rights movements, and the tipping point of the civil rights movements could have been the church burning or bombing, or could have been Emmett Till being photographed for the Jet magazine. But in the gay community, I would have to say the Stonewall riots in New York were certainly a tipping point. It galvanized the movement in terms, Doc, of where that movement is going to go. Can you tell me, without going back from a historical perspective about the movement, how did it affect you? Where did you find out what your identity is, and how do we make sure others feel comfortable in identifying themselves?
Okay. Well, I think looking back, I always knew that my identity was not male, and but growing up in the 70s and the 80s, there wasn't the resources available, even the 90s, to find out what that meant until, frankly, for someone like me living in the Midwest, the internet came along, and I was able to start to look at what I was feeling and what it meant.
So, Doctor, you knew at a young age that you probably weren't comfortable being a male. In Lima, have you been comfortable as this progress has changed over the last, for you, since when? 2016, I think your transition started?
Right. Yes, I've been very comfortable in Lima. You know, it was the scariest part of being a trans person in Lima was to not know how the community would respond. In other words, the greatest obstacle to my transition was myself and what I did not know. And I think that's one of the greatest challenges that the LGBT community faces in Lima, is how to connect with each other in an environment in a Midwestern city where people tend to be more humble and not brag up their differences, but try to focus on what makes them more the same.
But look at you. I mean, we've talked, and when you hear you speak, it's like, oh, she knows a lot about what she's talking about, not just from a scientific standpoint, if I can make up that word today, but you're a Rotarian member, you're a Rotary member, you're part of the Altrusa Club, which is probably the oldest women business group in Lima. I mean, you're a mother, you're a wife, you have kids, you live with your wife. I mean, your kids go to the same school that I'm on the board of that has its own committee for the LGBT community. So things are progressing, aren't they?
Right.
I mean, I'd like to say so.
Yeah, some lifestyle you've just described.
Yes, thank you, thank you.
Right. Well, I think it's, you know, again, it's, and you and I have talked, being a gay or lesbian or trans person in Lima does not change the fact that you share so much in common with the rest of this community. And so, you know, I think part of it is just understanding that how we live our daily lives and the things that we participate in and the responsibilities that we have are really shaped in a smaller way by how we identify or who we love, you know, with the obvious understanding that being in a relationship, a committed relationship with anyone, allows love to occur in our lives in a way that wouldn't otherwise.
That's what I'm going to bring you in here, Kim, but hearing Marion talk is just fascinating. But you've been able to stay in your committed relationship. Follow me, Marion. You had some ups and downs, but you're still married.
Right. We're celebrating our 23rd anniversary, or celebrated it this past Sunday.
Is that right? Well, that is a blessing in and of itself. And your kids go to school, and just like any.
Right, they go to school. They don't, you know, they're obstinate about cleaning up their rooms. They pretty much act like teenagers.
Kim, when you talk to Marion and you hear her story, a lot of what you do as a social worker is to reflect on the differences that come to everybody's baggage, and one of the things you do is kind of console those. I'm reading something here, Kim, and it says to be honest with yourself. To come out is to identify as LGBT. The first person you have to reveal this to is yourself. After that, you can deal with family and friends. Yes or no?
Yes.
How do you talk to people about something that seems easy on paper? I can read it, Kim, but it's hard living the lifestyle, if I can say that. And
it has, because those gender and sexual roles are taught to us from birth. And when it doesn't fit our true authentic self, it starts to develop into some anxieties, fitting in, your self-confidence, your self-esteem, could lead to substance use, all those different things.
And you've seen it all.
I have. A lot. Maybe not all.
But having that said, Kim, part of your process is doing what? Connecting bridges, connecting resources?
Making linkages. Some people don't know, you know, we have many support groups that I'm sure we'll get into in the local area for youth 12 to 18 and adults 18 and up. For allies, there's PFLAG that also helps with parents, family, friends, anyone wishing to become part of an organization that's fighting for equality.
And having said that, fighting for equality, having said that, Kim, it's easy to talk about the movement, but it's one thing to live in the movement, which I don't. It's just baffling that in 2020 or 2020, as we get close to that, and coming out of Findlay had a parade. Follow me, Marion? Findlay had a pride parade. Columbus had 500,000 people. I mean, what's the shame of Lima? What's the stigma in Lima, if there is one? I know Marion's looking to jump into that, but is there a stigma in Lima, Kim, with respect to?
I don't know about a stigma. I don't know what exactly are the barriers besides people just trying to do like what Marion said and living their own lives, getting busy, raising kids, and just not needing. They have their own support system, and that might include a lot of straight people. It doesn't really matter if you're gay, straight, lesbian, you know, where you identify, that life goes on. There is support for those that need it, and I'm hoping they'll show up in numbers to some of these parades, and the need is that they're linking with bigger communities, or that possibly they don't need us as much. I'm hoping.
Having said that, Doc, are you saying that the need isn't there because people were comfortable with the lifestyle they've chosen, or are people just ashamed?
I can't speak for other people, and at the different, you know, the different places they are in their transition or their self-acceptance or their self-discovery, you know, those are, you know, one. I mean,
When did you start transitioning from a male to a female, Doc?
Right. Right. In other words, let me rephrase that. When I stopped pretending to be male. Let's see. It was I started counseling in 2014, and for over 2 years, I explored every last alternative to transition. You know, I'm a scientist. I'm a PhD biologist. I figured there's got to be a way of explaining this. You know, it's got to be an enzyme, or there's got to be a drug I can take, because looks really tough. And There wasn't. So, I mean, people are in different phases. And with that come different emotions that are actually quite universal.
And that's a good place to take a break real quick. We want you to come back. We're going to bring in a younger guest and talk about the transition of how young people are seeing it, and again, discuss with Marion and Kim about the obstacles that they're facing. Come back with us.
From early in the morning when the Happy Days stores open, turn the grills on, get the coffee turned on. Across town, the beer barrels, there's a lot of prep work that has to be done. Sauces being prepped on the stove. At Old City Prime, everything's from scratch. I think the culture in our company is that we care about our people. And in return, our people care about our customers. Thank you so much to all of our team that's worked for us, and thank you so much to all the communities that we're in for being such great customers.
Our barbers and cosmetologists are licensed professionals who specialize in all phases of hair. Whether you are getting a line-up, cut, beard trim, or design, our barbers will help create your unique style. With full-time cosmetologists, also taking appointments and walk-ins from lashes, presses, color, wax to braids, and weaves, Fresh and Faded cosmetologists do it all. Call us for an appointment today. Fresh and Faded Unisex Hair Studio, the largest shop in Northwest Ohio. 419-221-FADE.
If you ain't fresh, you ain't faded.
Welcome back. We're going to look at some of the things that you do, Kim. We got some pictures showing on the screen. We hope the Lima community takes a chance to look at some of those pictures. I mean, you've been involved. You're a one-band activist, if I can say that, Kim. I mean, you're the treasurer, the secretary. A lot of people aren't showing up to the PFLAG movement, but it's an important. I think it's important. In the community to know some of the things that you do are there. And when people, and I know Marion talked about it before we went to the last break, when she stopped pretending and she went through it, and I don't want to speak to you, and we're sharing the mission statement of the PFLAG movement, but when people are suffering with shame and anxiety and depression, here you come to provide what you call linkage to the community and resources. So as we talked a little bit before we went to break, what's going on with the PFLAG movement? Talk to the people about PFLAG movement. It's not just for gays, lesbian, bisexual, queers.
No, it is not.
It's for anybody.
Yes, and thank you for the credit, because it has been very difficult to continue, and that's what's been driving me, is just that even that one person, that one family that comes in, and maybe even just for a group or two that just needs some support, some linkage. Oh, we didn't know about this other group. How could we explore hormones if it's in that direction? If there's family acceptance, any kind of needs, we just kind of bridge those gaps. We try to advocate for change, highlight some things that are needed. And
having said that, Kim, you've been a mom to people whose mom has rejected them. Can I say that?
Yes.
Speak about it. I mean,
I
think
try my best.
You're selling yourself short, Kim. You do a lot, and
Thank
I want people to know about that, who are out there in the Lima audience that are viewing this show and saying, "Wow, didn't know it existed." If we don't educate people, Kim, we've kind of wasted a half hour. Tell people on this Sunday how people can get connected who are feeling lost, feeling unaccepted, feeling hugs for moms are needed.
Yes, so I know we talked about that with the Pride Parades, because there's a lot of, especially our transgender youth or our, LGBTQ, anybody coming out. Sometimes the biggest obstacle and barrier is family acceptance, and that is like the number one linkage that we see to help them being more positive, more successful, less depression. To get through that is to have that support system. So without that, some of the Pride Parades, they have free mom hugs and T-shirts saying, if you're disowned by your own family. I just seen on Facebook that Columbus Pride had free dad hugs, so they're starting that campaign as well. So people that aren't feeling loved, accepted, appreciated at home, they can make a family with us.
But doesn't that frustrate you, Kim, that in today's day, people are still disowning their kids, or still disowning loved ones because of sexual orientation?
It absolutely is.
How do you keep doing it day after? How long have you been doing it, the PFLAG movement?
PFLAG, I've been a part of it for about 10 years. I've been board president for the last 5 or 6.
And you have a wall park extension. You and your whole family are involved in it.
So, but yes, and they help me with the parade every year. They help me with all my organizations that are bowling events and Christmas things. We try and have some fun and have that extended family. My parents even, I mean, they pulled our float this year in the Irish Day Parade.
Wow, that is interesting, and I appreciate that, Kim. Dr. Harper, let me read something to you. I always knew that I was in the wrong body. I spent endless nights praying to God to fix me and put me in the right body. That's a quote from somebody who lived in Missouri. I just reached out, and that's what he said. So, does God speak to you different than He speaks to others? As you went through this, if that's a weird way to say it.
Well, see, I've spent a lot of time reflecting as a Jewish woman on what it means to be transgender, and I'm not looking for a support chorus on this, a choir. I'm looking to understand what the Torah or the Old Testament means. When it comes down to how it talks about gender issues. One thing that probably few of your viewers know is that in the Talmud, the commentary on the Torah, the rabbis defined 6 genders. So they knew even very early on, thousands of years ago, that it wasn't just the body that defined our identity. And for me, I mean, when you ask how God spoke to me during transition, I can tell you very strongly that God speaks to me a lot more now that I'm able to answer Hineni. Here I am, all of me, ready to serve you, ready to listen to you. One of the things that I constantly discover in this process is just how much putting so much energy into denying and hiding who I was. How that handicapped me from interacting with other people, from becoming a part of the Lima community, and from building a closer relationship with God. So, the term religious freedom comes up a lot with regard to LGBTQ equality. And I never understood how important being myself was to my religious freedom to have the strongest relationship with God that I could. My soul is eternal. That's what, if I go into any house of worship, they're going to tell me that my soul is eternal. So why should I let this body that I am temporarily in prevent that from singing?
And that was what freed you to be who you are today.
Exactly.
And the depression and all the shame and all the guilt was like...
Those were things that were destroying me and holding me back. When I reached the point of transition, it was knowing that I almost, Jerome, had nothing to lose because my depression, my anger, those things were going to destroy me, and they were going to destroy the people I cared about the most.
Your wife, your kids, all that was part of that destruction that you were going through, Doc?
Right. Transition for me really was a Hail Mary in many senses. I know I'm crossing religions, but it really was. I'm using the football, not the Christian sense.
Yes.
But certainly, it was when I reached the point that I really felt I had nothing to lose.
But when you look at you, Marion, and I was able to kind of look at you from afar, I'm like, oh, who is that? Somebody in Lima. But when you're tall, you have broad shoulders, so you immediately stigmatize. If I make him, you immediately look at Doc and say, what is going on there? What is going on there?
You just say that to all the girls.
Yes, I do. But if you sit down with your dog, you get a sense of, wow, this lady knows what she's talking about. Not just from, and you're right, not just identifying you for your sexual orientation, but just in terms of your science, your mind, your thought process, in terms of how we can be a more inclusive community. All that is just getting to know you was like, wow, that's different.
Well, I try to be honest about who I am. Going through transition is a very awkward process, but if you have a dry sense of humor, it's also a wonderful source of material. But, I try to, without leading with what makes me different, not pretend that it doesn't exist, because at my height, I can't. But, at the same time, I'm willing to take questions. I'm willing to talk about it. I'm willing to acknowledge what I don't know.
Yes.
Which I think if any one of us were pressed to our identity and really describe it and really justify it, including why we like pizza, we might not be able to explain that. Some things we just are who we are. That's part of the mystery of life. That's That's part of the ministry of God.
I follow you. And before I get to Kim, I want to ask you one more question, Marion. Yeah, how did you approach this with the kids? I met the two boys, great kids. How did that transition for them?
Well, I think we approached it the same way I've tried to approach my transition and how I live the rest of my life, which is it's one aspect of me. It doesn't change my responsibility or my sense of commitment as a parent. It does not make me a better person, except in the sense that it gives me more potential to interact with them and others.
With your kids.
Right, but it doesn't make me a hero. And it doesn't make me the devil. The devil wears Prada.
I follow you. And you, just like a lot of us, follow me, Kim. Marion goes through the same thing a lot of us go through. Oh, my kid has a Facebook page and I didn't know it. A YouTube video. No, that's what it was, wasn't it?
Right. Dr. Egg, the master of eggs. I'll put in the plug for it.
And how old is he?
He is 13.
And she didn't know he had it, and all of a sudden, pop, he has it.
Yes.
Kim, do you see those types of interaction? I mean, Marion's story is unique in and of itself, but it's similar to many others, I would say.
Absolutely is. And everyone has, different barriers, whether they're financial, whether there's some dual things, like you talked about a little bit with depression or some anxiety transitioning. Whether you're LGBT doesn't mean that you're mentally ill, right? It doesn't mean that you could deal with some mental health issues like an adjustment and to deal with that. But some people lack the resources or the family support to be able to get through that.
And that's part of what that whole process is, isn't it, Doc, of working to that, identifying who you are.
Right, and I would also add, in terms of resources, one of the things that's holding back Ohio, or holding back Lima,
right,
and the way Lima is perceived in the context of the rest of the country, is Lima's location in the state where it is still legal to be fired, as I was, for being transgender in 2015, and denied housing, and denied service in restaurants. Part of the problem is the community we actually have versus the perception that's there, because we don't have safeguards for everyone, straight or gay, to be themselves.
And that's an education, I can tell you, Marion, that really is enlightening, because it's easy for me to sit there and say, why aren't more people following me, Kim? Why aren't more people coming out? It's not legal. There's some repercussions that are far-reaching, aren't they, Doc, that affect people that I think you just hit on. Right,
and one of the reasons my transition has been as smooth as it is with my academic credentials, I was able to go and find an employer that's outside Ohio. I work in Minnesota. I log in on a computer in Ohio, but I work in Minnesota.
Yes, you do.
Because I am protected in the workplace there.
In Minnesota, agriculture and food business, and it is a great company. I want you to look it up. And having said that, we're going to go to break. Stick with this, Lima. I mean, this is a fascinating topic. We have a Lima senior graduate when we come back that's going to talk about the young people. See you in a little while.
We at Lima Pallet Company thank you, Lima. In 1977, we started a small family business, and today we continue to grow. Lima Pallet is a full-service pallet and crate provider. Every customer is unique, which is why we build pallets and crates to our customers' specific requirements. Because we have our own fleet of trucks, we're able to provide customers with on-time, same-day, and 24-hour emergency deliveries. Coming together is the beginning, keeping it together is progress, and working together is success. Let's continue to succeed.
The loss of a loved one can leave you with a lot of unanswered questions, feelings of stress and anxiety, and grief that makes events difficult to handle. The experienced funeral directors at Jones Clark Funeral Home will guide you through the aspects of the funeral service with compassion, dignity, and respect. Our staff of dedicated professionals is available to assist you in making funeral service arrangements. The funeral directors at Jones Clark Funeral Home provide individualized funeral services designed to meet the needs of each family. Call us today to pre-plan your funeral.
Welcome back. Have Jameer with us. Jameer, thank you for joining us.
No problem.
I'm a senior graduate. Jameer's going to talk. Let me start here, because I want to keep going with this. We don't have a lot of time. Let me read something to you, Jameer. In August, I will be moving to Lima, Ohio. This is to attend the University of Northwest Ohio. All of us know it as UNO. I'd like to know about the gay community and the gay lifestyle, and how friendly is Lima open to gay. I don't live in Lima. Somebody posted on it, but I have several friends who do. I would tell you that you'd be happier in Columbus. Somebody else posted this kid. Most of my gay friends go to Dayton and Columbus to go out. I'm younger, so a lot of my friends are very accepting of people in the gay community. I would worry a little bit about other people in the community. Obviously, Lima is small, and I would be worried about it. Somebody says Ohio Northern University is where I go, and it's more open. I have lived in Lima all my life, and I would be concerned about. Tell me, Jameer, from a young person, how, when you came out, how was it? What are the obstacles? If you could talk to the young person out there today that is facing some of the obstacles that I'm reading about, what would you say to them, bud?
For me personally, it wasn't that hard. Like Kim, they said earlier that it's more so people are comfortable with it. So it's really it's just all about you. If you're comfortable with your sexuality, come on down. It's really nothing, really, in my perspective. It was more so hard on the family side coming out versus the community-wise.
Your family, Jameer?
Yes.
How so?
My family, well, more so with my mom, she was more so into like more of her religion belief and everything of that nature. So it was more so hard coming out to her. But everybody else in the community, like friends-wise, it really wasn't nothing. I didn't care what nobody thought about me, of course.
Were you out in high school, Jameer?
No, I was not out in high school.
You were out after high school?
After high school. I came out in college.
I follow you. And that transition coming back to Lima has been what? As a Walmart worker, has it been one that's been accepted in this community for your perspective?
Absolutely. Jameer? After the time that I had with Kim first coming back, she helped me out with my situations of that nature. Coming back working at Walmart, everybody's accepted me, it's real nice. Everybody's friendly with it. If I do see any type of concern or any type of, I say side eye when it comes to me or my sexuality, people aren't disrespectful about it. They just keep it to themselves and just keep pushing.
But Jameer, when you talk about it, and we're going to bring up some facts about suicide, and jump in here, Kim, if you wanted to. I mean, suicide is it talks about the facts on the TV. The youth are almost 5 times more likely to attempt suicide. Follow me, Jameer? It's a big issue out there, and I'm just getting frustrated. Like, people don't have to, and they're still doing it. Follow me, Doc? People are still killing themselves, Jameer, because of the sexual orientation.
Yes.
And the shame that people, they're not killing themselves because of who they are. They're killing themselves because of the acceptance.
Yes.
Stop me from yakking, Jameer. How do you bridge that feeling? Kim helped you?
Yes, Kim helped me a lot. I speak for myself. My situation going through my suicide process. Like I said, I was in college, so my family was down here in Lima, Ohio. I was in Cincinnati. I went to the Art Institute of Cincinnati. Excuse me.
Gotcha.
So from there, it was more open there. So when coming back, Kim helped me out more so of giving my family time to accept me that I came out.
As those suicide thoughts were lingering, you had support people to reach out to.
Yes, absolutely. I had my cousin to reach out to. I reached out to her, of course, and I had other friends in Cincinnati as well. But that whole family thing is more so what you really need, really. And for people coming out as of being young, because they still are getting bullied and committing suicide of that sort just because of their family not accepting them.
And Jameer, we're glad you were able to bring it on TV. We got some support groups up there, Kim. Those are the support groups you told us. They're important. We want the Lima community to see those support groups. Reach out. Call me. I'll put you in touch with Marion if you need to. I'll put you in touch with Jameer if you need to. And certainly everybody knows where Kim is. We want people to look at those support groups. Follow me, Kim, without me yakking about it, Jameer, and say, you know what? There's a Jameer. Follow me, I'm a Jameer. Or there's a Jameer. We want people to understand that you have a place to turn to. Follow me, Kim.
Absolutely.
All the work that you're doing. And by next year, this time, when June comes around for its Pride Month, we're going to be even bigger. We're going to support it with more people marching in the parade. Is at the Irish Parade. So we're going to do a lot. Look at us. Join us on Facebook. We have our contact information up there. Lima, don't be a stranger. Contact us and let us know how we can continue to help.
Hello Lima, brought to you by Good Food Restaurants, home of Happy Days, Beer Barrel, and Old City Prime. Also by Fresh and Faded, Jones Clark Funeral Home, and Lima Pallet Company.